Hello.
Hey, Shirley, how are you?
Great. How are you?
Awesome.
Thursday. These Thursdays come around quickly, don't they?
They do, yeah. And I thought I was just sitting around waiting, and I almost nodded. I was like, "Oh no, it's showtime tonight!" And I was very excited because I was, I'm thinking there's nothing to do. But yes, it is every Thursday. The Other Woman at Magazine. Yes.
Yes, yes. And you said you almost nodded out. Been to you look like you've been somewhere today, all dressed up.
I've been to work.
Oh.
I said, I dare not. I dare not get undressed. I mean, I'm just gonna wait until after the show and do what I need to do.
Right,
Yeah, so I just put
right.
my jacket back on. Yeah. How's your
Well,
day
good.
been?
It's been a good day. It's been a good day trying to get the next
Awesome.
issue out for the Other Woman
Mm-hmm.
magazine
Mm-hmm.
and trying to meet a
Yeah.
deadline. But it's going well, going well. So we're talking about motherhood tonight.
Mm-hmm.
And you know what? This is so crazy, but I need to plug in my computer before I die.
I know. Same
Okay.
thing. I was
Okay.
leaning in to take care of. Yeah.
I don't want to reach down. But anyway, we have a special guest tonight. We're going to have guests periodically.
Mm-hmm.
So there's another point of view. This is a platform for women to share
Mm-hmm.
their voice on womanhood. And there are so many aspects, so many facets of womanhood, and motherhood
Mm-hmm.
is a major one.
Mm-hmm.
It's almost who we identify ourselves with. So we are going to
Right.
bring in our guest, and I'm going to allow her to introduce herself. And while she's introducing
Okay.
herself, I need to reach down and plug in my laptop. It's always something. It is always something. Okay, let's bring in Laura. Hello,
Hey,
Laura.
Laura.
Laura, can you hear us?
Yes, I can hear y'all. Can y'all hear me?
Yes, I can
Yeah.
hear you now. Yes. So welcome, Laura, and thank you so much for agreeing to grace us with your presence tonight, me and Isoline. Isoline, this is Laura. Laura, this is Isoline.
Hi,
Hi,
Laura. Welcome to the
Iceland.
show.
Nice to meet you.
Same here, Laura.
So, Laura, I want you to take a minute and introduce yourself. And while you're doing that, I need to reach below my desk and plug in my laptop. So you go right ahead.
Hey, I'm Laura. I'm a mom. That's it. Okay, you done, Lavender?
No, Laura, get out of here.
I just had to mess with you a little bit.
I know, right?
My name is Laura McKnight, and I'm a mother of 4 children. My oldest son is 32, and my youngest daughter is 18. And we also have 4 grandchildren who I love very dearly. I'm a freelance writer and editor, and I've worked on several projects with Lavender. And that's kind of me in a nutshell. Here's the whole nut.
Yeah. Yes, you have. And Laura is a new regular contributing writer for The Other Woman magazine. And for those of you who are not familiar with The Other Woman magazine, it is a publication published by Candy Publishing. And again, it is a magazine that shares the truth, the reality of women, who we are, And the other woman, a question I get asked all the time, who is the other woman? It's the woman inside all of us that has been suppressed or silenced and not able to live because of so many reasons. It could be religion, it could be upbringing, it could be fear of judgment, it could be fear of whatever. So with the one life that we have, I encourage women to live that life, because life is long, but it goes by fast. And we spend a lot of our time, a lot of our life mothering, nurturing, taking care of family. So where is that woman who wants to do some things and just kind of put them on the back burner while we raised our children and supported the husband and all of that? And because I found the other woman after a 20-year marriage, after divorce, I don't want other women to go through that. So that's a whole part of me sharing and being transparent, is because why wait? Why wait until something happens and you realize what life is all about? You really don't start living until you realize you have one life. You have one life, but we pour our lives into so many other people. So there's a phrase that I like, that a mentor that I had, she's deceased now, but she says a woman should be able to open up her life and allow other women to learn from it. I'm going to part my curtains and I'm going to allow you to learn from my life. That's a part of the transparency that a lot of women, especially when it comes to motherhood, that we're a little hesitant to do, because we want to get it right. We want to look like we got it all together. And for whatever reason, people always thought I had it all together. I was so many days just tore up from the floor up, just trying to make it work. But I guess it's an illusion that we put on each other. Both of you all have always appeared that you got it together. And with all the different stages of motherhood, I know you guys are laughing. We've been there. New moms, we've been there. The empty nester, we've been there. Grandmothers, you all have been there. I'm about to enter that new, I know, so I can learn from you all. But we're going to start with just sharing some of maybe the regrets that we've had or mistakes that we've had as mothers. And we've got some young moms that are tuning in that are going to be watching us. Hopefully they can glean from some of our experiences. But if you had to give one piece of advice to a new mom, one piece of advice, Laura, I'm going to begin with you. What would it be?
It's an easy one for me. And it's something that my mother gave me and her mother gave her. Free advice is always worth what you paid for it.
Free advice is always what you pay for it. Did I say it correctly?
Free advice is always worth what you paid for it.
Okay.
As a new mother, I remember getting so much advice. You know, people just would heap all of the, and it always came from a place of good intentions, I feel like. But it kind of created a situation where I felt like people were always judging me if I didn't follow their advice, or were they offering me advice because I wasn't doing a good job. So I would tell a new mother that, you know, a lot of people are going to offer you advice, and trust your instincts. You know, some of the advice is going to be good, and some of it is not. So, you know, trust your instincts and remember that free advice is worth what you paid for it.
Right. And to put it plainly, you're going to be hearing advice from everyone. And I found myself doing that with my, the mother of my soon-to-be grandchild already, you know, just saying, okay, you might expect this, you might expect that. Don't. it's kind of hard because you don't want them to make mistakes, but they've got to make their own mistakes.
That's right.
That's their journey. But that is good advice, Laura. And that's some of the advice that I give, but I don't see myself doing it all the time. It's like, shut your mouth. Shut your mouth. She's got her own journey. So what would be your piece of advice, Iselina, that you would give to a new mom?
I would say be open. Be open to receive advice from others, but follow your motherly instinct. Because we come with it's built in. We don't know it all when we have the baby. I remember having my first child and I thought I had it all together because I was the babysitter, to cousins and other family member children. So I thought I had it all together, but there was so much more that I needed to learn. And because I made myself available and I stayed open to hear what the elders said, which we don't have that a lot anymore, I remained open to what they said. That was something for me. So to that young woman, I would say, hook up with someone that you trust, someone that you admire, and you see raising their children, rearing their children the way you want to go with yours, and learn from them and remain open. But trust the motherly instinct, because that instinct is going to always get you to where you need to be.
Yeah, that's a good one, because we don't realize how powerful our womanly instinct is.
That's right.
We really don't. And I went to a conference with my younger sister one time on child abuse. And it was so odd that they said the red flags are always in front of us. It's that gut. It's that instinct that we don't trust. It tells us all the time, but we doubt ourselves. That instinct for new mothers that are listening, any mother, any woman, your instinct is your guide. It's the most powerful tool that we have. And you wonder sometimes, you can have a new baby and something will wake you up to go check on that baby. What is that? That baby may be sleeping, but you're behind. Better get up.
That's right.
When you think about it and check on that baby. It could be anything. It could be a child in high school. It could be a teenager, more so for the teenagers. If your instinct, your gut is saying, I need to go walk in the room, I need to go check the room, I need to call and see how they're doing, you better listen to that instinct. Don't ignore that instinct. So that was good advice. My advice would be rest. Rest is a secret weapon. It is so easy to be pulled in so many directions. I don't care if you have one child or if you have 4 children. We get so caught up in making that life better, making that life, trying to make it perfect, trying to make sure all the ends are tied and no ends are loose, just trying to make it right, that we forget to pour into ourselves. We can be raggedy, tired, irritated. You can't think right when you're tired. You can't hear that and tune into that intuition when you're tired. But we just want to keep going. I'm so guilty of that. Just keep going, keep going. Sit your butt down and rest. They say, well, when do I rest? When do I rest if I have children? Well, that's the tricky part. When the baby's sleeping, that's when we want to clean and do things. That's the time that we need to rest. But you have to find it. You have to find that time yourself. Because here I am giving advice, telling somebody when to rest. You rest when you find the time to rest. Lauren, you look like you want to say something. Jump in.
Oh no, I agree with you. I probably needed a lot more rest over the last 32 years than I got.
No.
I feel like I'm on autopilot a lot of days, even now going through, with adult children and grandchildren and trying to keep up with everything.
So when does it stop, Laura? You said even with adult children. So that's key right there. Motherhood never stops.
Never. Never.
That's right. It never stops.
Ask my mom. She'll agree with you.
So we go through this phase when they about to graduate from high school. My baby, they're graduating, they're gone. But Laura and you too, Iselene, you've realized they're not going anywhere.
No,
But
they're
didn't you feel like at a particular time, did you ever doubt that you gave them everything they needed for life? Did you ever feel like, did I tell them this? Did I tell them that? There's something that I need to be saying to them or something I didn't. Did you ever feel that way when the children were gone, even though they not going anywhere? Did you ever wonder if you did everything you were supposed to do as a mother?
Absolutely. Absolutely. I think, that's one of the curses of motherhood is that we're constantly second guessing ourselves. Is it enough? Is it, is it going to take care of them? Although I feel like I've arrived at a point where, and this may sound morbid, but if I drop dead today, they'd all at least be dressed okay. And seriously, I feel like I've given my kids the tools that they need to do what they need to do. Of course, we've had with Jill graduating this year. It was kind of anticlimactic because of COVID and everything.
Yeah.
All of the things that we were built up to do and enjoy.
Yeah.
But in a neat way, it kind of brought us closer together because we looked for other ways to celebrate her, and it's made it that way. But I absolutely at this point feel like I've taught my kids everything that they need to know to get through life. But there's still more that I can teach them. So I'm hanging on.
And speaking of Jill, now Iselene and I, we used to have adult play dates. We would get together on Mondays at 9:00 and just talk. Now, you and I and a couple of other mothers, we had play dates for our children because we were homeschooling. So I remember Jill, when she was a little, I could just see her running around. And which son was it? Not your oldest.
It was Kelly.
Kelly, yes,
yeah.
Kelly. So here is Jill graduating. This is an article that Laura wrote and submitted. And I encourage, if you're a mother out there, you don't even have to be a mother. We accept submissions, article submissions. Share your heart, share your life. All I ask is that you be transparent and you talk in the first person. It's not a teaching, preaching magazine. You share yourself so other women can learn from it. So the whole COVID, the whole pandemic, having a teenager graduating from high school, that's something else. We learn something with every issue that we have. Every issue that comes in life as a mother, we're learning something. And don't you try to impart that with your children, whether they're adults or not?
Oh, absolutely.
Yeah. So when do you realize they're adults? They don't need my advice. Are there ever any times when you don't impart your opinion and let them fall or let them make a mistake?
I don't think that there is a time that, you don't impart. As far as my children, I'm always pouring into them. It doesn't mean that they listen all the time. That doesn't mean that, but I'm always giving them something, dropping a nugget here, dropping a nugget there. And, sometimes I think sometimes, because they do so many crazy things at times. I'm wondering, where did I go wrong? And that's second guessing, right, Laura? I'm like, I didn't go wrong. I think they bumped their heads. They just bumped their heads, and then that's when you start, it's like you almost start training them over again. when they do stupid stuff. It's like, sit
Uh-huh.
down, let's talk. I
Yeah.
have a 35-year-old and I do it to him. And I called him and the 34-year-old the other day, and they were just back and forth at each other. Now that you call mom, hold on, let me talk to her about the problem that grown folks could have done. So, with that, I always feel like I need to impart more, even at that age. And I'm like Laura said earlier, it never stops. It never, my mom probably
Yeah.
agreed too. It never stops.
Yeah.
It never stops,
Yeah.
Yeah.
So,
And it's important to be supportive of them as they're making their choices, even if you don't agree with them all the
Mhm.
time. That's the hardest
that's
thing.
the hard part.
Sometimes not imparting the information, but knowing when to keep your mouth shut.
Yeah.
Exactly.
Yeah. Because they have their own journey. They
Right.
have their own journey. So we don't want them to live the life that we lived. They
Mhm.
have their own lives to live. So I think about when they were babies. And I don't know about you guys, but I still get full when I
I do
think
too.
about
Yeah.
when they were babies and now
Mhm.
they're grown men. My two
Right.
boys, you have a life. You get this little person, this little baby, and you got to
Mhm.
keep that little baby alive. You're
Yeah.
responsible for a life. So
Mhm.
I remember when I got in the hospital with my firstborn, and my mother and my then husband, I call him my unhusband, they were leaving me in the hospital. And I looked at my mother and said, what am I supposed to do with him, the baby? Where are you going?
Right.
What am I supposed to do with him? It's like, okay, then it hit me. This is your
That's your baby.
responsibility.
Yeah.
This is your baby. You've got to pour into him, feed him, care for him, nurture him, take care of him when he's sick, make sure he's okay when he falls down, pick him up. You are giving all of yourself to this little
That's
person
right.
that comes into the world, and they're looking at you helpless. It's like, okay, who are you for one? And you're
Right.
going to take care of me? So did
Mhm.
you ever have feelings of, I can't do this at any stage? Did you ever have feelings of, I don't know if I can do this?
At every stage. There's no turning
Even
back
in
now.
adulthood. Yeah.
My
Yeah.
kids threaten to put it all in the book. That's what I tell them. Just put it in the book, guys. But of course, sometimes you just make it through the day, and that's okay too.
Mhm. Mhm.
You talk about having this little human being in your hands, and you look at them and you have all of these dreams and all of these ideas about
Mhm.
what it's going to be and who they're going to become. And while you're over here dreaming this, they're over here doing their thing.
Yes.
And
Yes.
and so I think that you just constantly have to, you work to keep them between the beacons.
Right.
You try to set a good example, and the rest of it just kind of falls into place.
And trust your training. That's what I had to do. I had to
Mhm.
trust my training. It's like, okay,
Yeah.
you did your part. You did your
Mhm.
part as
Mhm.
a mother. You taught them all you could. Now they've got to go out and make their own decisions.
Mhm.
And you look at them as the little toddlers, and they're
Mhm.
all cute. Oh, he's so cute, and you want to dress them and everything. Then they become teenagers. It's like, who the hell are you? And who are you
Exactly.
talking to like that?
Exactly.
Who
Where,
taught these people to talk? I mean, whose idea was
Yeah. Mhm. Mhm.
exactly. Who taught
Mhm.
them to talk? And then you
Exactly.
hear yourself. You hear all of your mothering, and not taking
Mhm.
anything away from the fathers. They play a great part. But hey, they can
Right.
have their own show. This is about the mothers. I just
Mhm.
feel like that we carried them for 9 months. We
That's
got to
right.
meet them and establish a relationship for nine
Mhm.
months before they
Mhm.
came into the world. So
That's
that
right.
bond that we have with our child, it'll always be there. There's
That's right.
nobody like mama, and there's nobody like having that, there's nothing like having that relationship with the child that you gave birth to. And when you think about it, now I was 50 something years old before I realized the power of my body as a woman, the worth, the value is like I heard one girl say, a conduit for the universe. I am bringing life into the world. That is huge. So it's not like, oh, I had a baby. Oh, you did more
You did more
than
than
just have a baby. You were a part of bringing someone into the world who's going to add to the universe, who's going
That's
to
right.
add to the world, regardless of what avenue they choose to do it. It's huge. And that's part of the Other Woman magazine. Now that I'm bringing motherhood into the magazine, is to realize the power, to realize our worth and who we are as women, because we can be devalued a lot, but our role is on a level that sometimes we don't realize until we go through some things, experience. Life teaches us so much. Okay, ladies, I'm talking too much. Let me hear you say something. I could go on and on for someone who don't like
Right.
to
Well, you're
be on
doing a good
live.
job, Lavenda. We talk about them making decisions and not listening at times. And we talked about the dad. And I have to say, my dad told me something one time that I carry on with my children right now. Because, I remember him telling my brother to do something and he wouldn't do what he asked. And it caused some problems. And so the next thing, I heard the conversation when he was getting on to him and he told him, I tell you what, bought sense is better than taught sense. If you can buy a piece of sense, nobody can teach you anything. And I have kept that to this day. So I let them buy some sense sometimes, and,
Yeah.
and because they think they have all the sense. I'm not saying that
Yes.
I have more sense than them, but I have a lot of wisdom, you
Mm-hmm.
know. And so with that wisdom, we try to pour understanding into them. But they get the big head and they don't want to do it.
Mm-hmm.
So for me, buy your sense, and then they want to come and cash it in with me, you know.
Right.
But and that's what we do, when they were babies, we see them before they start toddling around, they're holding on to the table, they fall, and we pick them up. Mama, I remember my husband telling me, leave him alone, he'll get up. And I pick him up and, oh, come on, baby, brush him out. Leave him alone, let him go. And so with that, we have to learn as mothers that they're gonna be okay. They're
Yeah.
gonna bump their head. I like that with the grown-ups. They bump their heads to me,
Yeah.
you know. So as a mother, we're gonna always be there, wanting to. I won't say pamper. My kids probably saying, "Mama, don't ever say pamper again." But you want to be there and cushion the fall. You want to
Mm-hmm.
cushion the fall, and I think
Mm-hmm.
that comes with motherhood. When you're a mother, you think you know what's best for them when we really do.
Right.
We want
Right.
to, we want them to understand, hear what I'm telling you. Proverbs in the Bible gives us so much about what mother says to sons, and not just sons, daughters as well.
Mm-hmm.
And I feel like if you would just listen to me, then you won't bump your head so many times. And that's what
Mm-hmm.
motherhood is after we've gained that relationship with them. And I remember reading to my last son so much. I read to him more than I read to any of the children. And I would read a book to him. And when he was born, the first thing he looked for, the first 4 or 5 hours he was here, at that time I used to read that book to him. He was looking up at me, and I'm thinking, what does this baby want? I'm tired. I don't want to do a baby. Take him to the nursery, do what he want to do. But he was looking for what I had poured into him. And that's how it
Mm-hmm.
is with our children now. They want what mama has poured into us. Not that they don't want what dad, again, we're talking about motherhood. They want that it's going to be okay sometimes. But when they decide they want to let go of the table and start toddling around, we got to learn to let them go.
Yeah.
But will
Let
we
them
ever let
fall.
them go? Yeah, will we ever
Yeah.
do that? Yeah.
Yeah.
So yeah, that was my bought
Well,
sense.
and that's funny that you say that. My stepdad used to have a variation of that. A taught lesson is better than a bought lesson,
Yeah, yeah.
Mm.
Mm-hmm.
and so that's kind of the way that we've operated with our kids.
Mm-hmm.
One of my favorite words is balance. And it seems like in motherhood, we're always looking for a balance between being hands-on and stepping back. I've kind of had the blessing of having kids spread out. I had 3 children and I prayed for patience. And so God sent me a 4th. So, you know, there's 14 years difference between my oldest and my youngest. And we've learned a lot of lessons about parenting. Parenting her as a teenager was not easier, but it was different because we did learn to, you know, kind of allow her to make her own mistakes. And we learned that those mistakes were not the be all and end all, you know, that she could recover from those and go on. And with our older kids, we used to worry, you know, we worry about their grades and worry about their direction and worry about everything, every little detail of their lives. And with this 4th child, we've kind of backed off and let her take the lead. And, you know, so far so good. You know, we're, like I say, we're not done yet, and you never know what's going to happen. But you do have to, you know, in the analogy of letting that little baby let go of the table, that applies all throughout, you know, raising children.
You know, I think about those times where I felt like I was going to lose my mind. And that came with this book, We Snap in Silence. Now that book was written in 2009, I believe.
Wow, was it that long ago?
Yes,
was it
2009. 2009.
Goodness gracious.
And I wasn't even really writing a book. I was just journaling. There were some things that I was going through as a mother, and I said, I know I cannot be by myself. I know I can't be the only one who feels like I just can't get it together. I can't get it right. Now, we all go through different things on different levels as women, as mothers, but that's the part that we don't share with each other, are those valley moments, are those moments where you feel like some days you just want to walk out aimlessly with no direction and say, you know what, I need a break. I am being pulled in all directions. I am burning the candle at both ends. And you're asking me what's for dinner. You know what? I used to say, tongue, suck on your tongue. That is what's for dinner until I cook because I'm tired. And then I realized I had to cut it off at a certain point. 8 o'clock, mama button is off. I got to take care of me.
Kitchen closed.
Don't ask me about homework. Don't ask me about nothing unless you're bleeding and need to go to the hospital. I am sitting on that sofa reading a book, or I am going to whatever. 8 o'clock. And I had to get to a point where I didn't feel guilty about it. But if I didn't take care of me, I couldn't take care of them. And that's the part that as women, we feel so guilty taking care of ourselves. But this is all we have. So We Snap in Silence, that book written in 2009, I said, enough is enough. You know, somebody needs to unmask and tell the truth. Because if I'm out here by myself waving this white flag saying help, and all it really takes is knowing that I wasn't alone. But for whatever reason, we don't want to share those moments. It's like you're going to be chastised or maybe even crucified if you say, look, I'm tired of my children. I cannot mother today. Or as a wife, look, I don't want to have sex with my husband tonight. I'm tired. I've been working, cooking, and cleaning all day. I don't feel like donning that sex goddess hat tonight. But those are the things that we don't share with each other. And that's the whole thing of parting the curtains and allowing other women to look into our life and learn from it. So share maybe one instance where you felt like you were just about to crack, because we all have a breaking point. So for the new mothers watching, you all will have a breaking point where you feel like, I can't do this. So you guys share one of your breaking points, one of those experiences where you felt like, oh goodness, I didn't sign up for this.
One out.
Either one of y'all. Either one of you.
Trying to pull a good one out. Yeah, God. I mean, which one?
Somebody else.
I know. God, which one?
Oh gosh. Oh gosh.
Jeez Louise.
And I think,
I mean,
I think that's important is that there were so many many times where I said, oh my gosh, I can't, and when my older kids were all little, I had 3 small children under the age of 7, and trying to go into a grocery store with them, that was back in the days before you could do online ordering and have your list on your cell phone and things like that. And I remember one time we were walking through a grocery store and my daughter Tori was sitting up in the basket, and this man came by in a wheelchair, and very loudly she looked at him and said, "Look, Mom, that guy doesn't have any legs."
Oh my.
And
oh my.
I was horrified. And God bless him, the man looked up at her and he says, "Yeah, I dropped him around here somewhere. If you see him, take him up to the front for me, would you?" So, I mean, you learn to roll with the punches, but yeah, I mean, there have been times when I've left a shopping cart sitting full and dragged 3 screaming children out and put them in the car and gone home.
Yeah.
It happens. And you have, again, that word balance. You gotta keep your balance. If you're not taking care of you can't take care of them.
That balance, I never thought about it as balance. I don't think I ever found a balance. I was always juggling. I was like, okay, because I would read the books on motherhood and mothering, and I would hear that word balance, but everybody has different coping skills. I never balanced. I was juggling, and I was trying not to keep a ball from falling, but one would always fall. So, and I'm glad you mentioned that balance. We have to find our own sense of balance, whatever you call balance. Make your normal your normal. We all don't have the same normal. Whatever it is, whatever you have to do to make it work. Okay, Iselene, share one of your experiences.
As I sit here and think, I think it was when we still on? Are we there?
Yes, we are.
When the 2 oldest, everything blinked out. When my 2 oldest sons had gone to high school, and then I had the other 2 home, and they were middle school and elementary. And the older boys, they started dating, and the oldest one would drive to school, and because their dad said, "Oh, let them drive." Okay, I'm gonna let them drive. They started driving, and all of a sudden, you get a phone call from the school, and they're not there. And then you'll get another phone call from another school and saying they're not there. Well, my husband was at work, and I work graveyard, so I'm home, and I literally just I just threw up a deck of cards and say, okay, I'm going to catch a number, and whatever number I get, I'm going to go that way. There was no balance for me, during that time. But as time progressed and I began to learn more about teenage boys, then I was able to deal with it. But I was just, it was a breaking point for me. I thought, I don't know what the HIJKL just happened up in here. I can't deal with it. I told her, Daddy, you take it. They're boys. You deal with the boys. I'm dealing with my daughter. And that brought me balance right there. That brought me the balance. So, yeah.
And I think the balance came for me, or the idea of balance, when they got older. I think it was just easier for me. The teenage years were easier for me for some reason. I remember I had 2 stepchildren. So I had stepsons before I had my own children. And I remember taking one of the boys, one of my stepsons, to a doctor's appointment or something. And I had the firstborn in one of those carry things, remember those things that you carry? And you guys, They called us to go into the office, the doctor's office, and I'm carrying my son, and all of a sudden I noticed that it was a little light. I turned around, and my baby was on the floor.
Oh no.
I was
Oh my
carrying the but we were
Yeah.
sitting there, so I unstrapped the seat. I unstrapped it, and I forgot to strap him back in when I got her. So I'm like, la-di-da. I'm like, oh my God, they're going to call Child Protective Services on me. But that was one of those times when I probably just made it to the appointment. I'm dealing with stepchildren, stepsons. I've got a new baby. I'm trying to be the wife I'm supposed to be, and I'm just unraveling. But you mentioned earlier, Iceland, that you have to have somebody that you can connect with, somebody.
Right.
And I think that it had to have been my mother, because I don't remember sharing these things with anyone, probably fear of judgment or too embarrassed to share, until I realized how important it was to share what I was going through. So as we part our curtains and allow other women to look into our life, these new mothers that are bringing new life into the world, they have to know that there are no perfect days. Like you said, if you can just get through the day, Laura, if you can just get through the day. So you walk around, and I hope my my grandson's mother is watching. You walk around pregnant, and you're feeling the baby move inside you, and you can't wait for him or her to come, to be born. That pregnant stage, that's the time when you really need to store up your rest. That baby will be here.
That's right.
You enjoy this pregnancy. Enjoy it. I don't care how you feel, swollen ankles, swollen feet, tired, back hurting. You enjoy this, because your life is going to shift in a way that you never imagined. And being a working mother, I can't imagine being, well, I was in the military, but to work all day and then come home, that's when the job starts. That's when your day begins, is when you come home. So Laura, share how, were you always a stay-at-home mother from the first child to the last?
I've been very fortunate in that I always found a way to work around having children. I worked at my dad's convenience store for years. I would go in and count the money and take care of things there. And then once the kids got into school, I was able to kind of go in and work a shift here and there. And then after I had Jill, I started a concierge service, and I would take her with me. We would deliver baby supplies out at the beach for vacationing guests. So I've always managed to work around having children. And that's been a blessing. I haven't had to put my kids in daycare since Joey was since Joey was a baby. We had him in daycare, and we got a note from the daycare that said, "Please ask Joey to stop peeing outside." He says his dad told him it was okay, and that was the last time I had one of my children in daycare. So yeah. So.
Oh my goodness.
Oh my God.
Oh my goodness.
But certainly, for me, that was a good choice, and that was what worked for our family. I felt it was important to be there for the kids and to be around them, so I could, really ruin them good, and
And these days and times, with all of the missing children, and we talked about trafficking last week. I wish my grandson didn't have to go into if they were closer, I'd take care of the baby. the trust factor is so difficult these days. You don't know who you can trust. If you can have a family member, that would
Mhm.
be wonderful. But for working moms who aren't afforded that,
Mhm.
um, what is it, a privilege to be at home. You
Mhm.
have
Really
to,
is. It really is.
yes, it is you have to find a daycare that you can trust if you don't have a family member. Now, I remember when I first started Mom's Web Organization for Moms, and I was just promoting stay at home with your children, stay at home. And
Mhm.
my father said, everybody didn't retire from the military, Lavender. Everybody doesn't have income. Mothers have to go to work.
Yeah.
And then there are the single moms who are doing it alone, having to work two jobs. And
Mhm.
sometimes you have to do some things that you don't want to do. You may have to leave those children. You may
Yeah.
not be able to find a sitter. So,
Mhm.
Iceland, how do you feel about babysitting? Did you, when you went out, did you have babysitters, or were you against babysitting, or what?
You said, did I have babysitters or did I what? You froze up.
Did you have babysitters, or did you say, if I can't take them with me, I won't go?
It was more of if I can't take them with me, I don't go.
Hmm.
I was fortunate enough to have my grandmother, my mother, and sister-in-laws and mother-in-law. I had so many babysitters, but even so, I wanted my children, I wanted to be around them. I'm like the helicopter mom. And even to
Mm.
this day, I mean, I pulled away from it the last 4 or 5 months. I pulled away. I mean, grown children, helicopter mom. And I've always wanted that position of stay-at-home mom. My daughter's a stay-at-home mom. I'm so jealous. I've never been a
Mm.
stay-at-home mom. Um,
Mm.
I love my children so much, and I know that we all do, but I love my children. I love being around them. I was a young parent. I had my first son at 18 years old. So, being a young parent, I wanted to be around them so much so when it came time to where we had to put them in a daycare, I took on a job at the daycare center with them. And I worked, yeah, it also helped financially because free daycare. But
So
yeah,
you didn't want to let go. You just
I didn't
had to
want
be
to go.
there.
Yeah. And even now, I told my children, I said, listen, I said, this pandemic thing has brought me to a place to where if you guys pay what it costs for me to live a month, I'll come home and keep the grandchildren. I might be pulling my hair out, but I'll tell you one thing. There is not a daycare center right now that I trust. There's not.
Mm.
There's just not one. Yeah, I hear too many things about it. You hear people's children walking out of the door and nobody know where they are. I don't care how much they have. So just too much happens. So no, I've never had that pleasure of having the position as a stay-at-home mom, nor did I drop my children off everywhere. If I
Mm.
couldn't go, if they couldn't go with me, I didn't go. So
What
my
about
husband
you,
and me,
Laura?
Um, we took our kids with us everywhere, when they were younger. Um, and I've been really fortunate because I've got sisters who are young, a lot younger than I am, that kind of are closer to my kids' age.
Mm.
So they watched my kids, and then when they had kids, my kids watched their kids, and so we've and that's something that that new moms is so important, is to have a network, to have a network of people around you that love your kids like you love them.
Right.
Because that again has really been a blessing for us, that we
Mm.
were always able to do that. And then when Jill came along, of course we had built-in babysitters. So
Yeah.
yes,
Yeah.
which also doubled as birth control.
Yeah.
I think my kids were all terrified of having
wow,
sex, but after having to watch their little sister, that cured them. So it,
That's
you know,
oh
funny.
my,
What you mentioned, network, and that is so important. And for the military moms, I remember I'm from Alabama, being stationed in California, and you
mm,
have no network. You know, I was fortunate to have one family, uh, cousins that lived in San Diego. And she watched the boys for the first 2 or 3 years until they had to go into daycare. And of course, the daycare was on a military base. So anytime I could go and check on them, I would. But yeah, for the military moms out there, your network has to be your comrades, your coworkers. You got to have, you can't do it alone. You can't do it alone. And even being overseas with no family, you got to establish a network because you're going to need it. You have to, you got to get up and go to work. So Iceland, like you said, you were never a stay-at-home mom. It is so easy to forget. Laura, you and I both were stay-at-home moms for a while. And it's a privilege to be able to have your children with you all the time. But I forget, not everyone has that privilege. So you do the best that you can do, and both of you all said it, is to find people that you can trust. Yeah. Because these days, it's like a doggone epidemic with children, missing children, and the things that go in daycare and having to put up cameras to watch your children. Yeah. But again, as we said in the beginning of the show, you're entrusted with that child's life. You are responsible for that child's life. So yeah, you might want to go out on a date and find a babysitter, but think twice. Safety first. Safety first, because you don't want to live with any regrets. And being the helicopter mom, oh my God, Icelina, you are true. You are the definition of doggone helicopter mom, even with grown children.
Yes.
You're there.
Yeah, the helicopter's in the air.
Laura, are you a helicopter mom?
I don't think I am. My children might disagree with you.
And my hat is off to you guys. I'm telling you, those military moms. I'm sorry, Laura. I'm just say to the military moms, because I watch my best friend. She's in the military. She's a doctor. She does so much, and she have to take that time and go on the weekend and to camp. And I'm like, how do you do that? You guys have the balance. You have the balance. My hat is off to you military moms. That's all I'm saying. I'm sorry. Go ahead.
Go ahead,
well,
Laura.
and I'm not a military mom, but one of the things that Lavender mentioned a little earlier is how difficult it can be to find those connections. And we're really kind of blessed to live in this age of technology, that this is how you and I met Lavender, was through a mom's group.
Right.
And we formed those bonds, and I'm still friends with so many of those women we met through the Moms Like Me. And I think you can find those women out there. Of course, the downside of that is that you do run into a lot of judgment sometimes in these moms groups and things like that. So you have to recognize, again, look for the balance, recognize when you can find somebody that you connect with, and when you need to kind of step away from the group.
And know when to take the advice or throw it in the trash, or, you listen and you smile. Okay, well, yeah, hey, if I want to give my children Pop-Tarts in the morning or cook them a homemade breakfast, that's my choice. That's my choice.
One of the gifts that you gave to me a long time ago, Lavender, was an expression: "Don't judge me, learn from me." Yeah. And I have carried that in my heart. I mean, you changed the way I looked at myself, because I was writing that mom's blog, and my goal in doing that and in sharing that and writing my column was to part those curtains and to let mothers know that you don't have to live this perfect storybook idea of what motherhood is,
right,
to do a good job as a mother. Some days just not killing them is good enough.
There you go. There you go. Hey, I kept you alive today. Yeah, give me a trophy.
Go me.
Jesus, yes.
So, Laura, are you still, where else are you writing? Because both of you have much to share. So we are the older women now. We are the older women. So, Laura, you are an amazing writer. Are you writing and sharing anywhere else besides the Other Woman magazine, your column?
I have been in a peculiar time since the days before the COVID. That's how I'm starting my book. In the days before the COVID. I have just been in a peculiar time, and I have been working with a mutual friend of ours, and we talked about collaborating on doing a blog kind of aimed at women in our stage of life.
Yes.
And it's
going to be on with us one night. Yes,
wonderful.
I'm trying to talk her into it.
Good. Well, I'll work on it on my end too.
Please.
Sandy, can you hear us? So we've talked about that, and we need to get that going and kind of share what life is like at this stage of life. All of a sudden, everything that's identified me, the mother of young children and a young wife and an up and coming, type of person, all of those labels don't apply to me anymore.
I know.
And I'm already feeling all of these things, and it's been exacerbated by COVID and everything that's going on in the world. And it's a weird time, I think, for all of us. And just to be honest, there are some days where it's just kind of tough, and I think I think that I've been again given a gift, that I've got female friends and my network that I reach out to and look to for support. And you never stop mothering, you never stop needing friends, you never stop needing your network.
Mm-hmm. It's time for another book besides What to Expect When You're Expecting. It should be What Not to Expect, or What You're Not Expecting, the truth and the reality. Run like hell. And on that note, I'm going to give you guys closing words. We have 2 minutes. I'm going to give you guys 1 minute each. Iselina, you go first.
I just want to, again, Lavinda, thank you for the opportunity to even be here tonight, and to say to Laura, so nice to meet you. And I hope that we can get together again. And to that young mother that's out there, stay with it and be who you are. Trust your instinct and allow yourself to come out. Let the other woman come out so that you can exist and not just live.
Mm-hmm. Thank you for that. Laura, closing remarks.
Well, and I have enjoyed spending the evening with you guys. I feel like I've gotten a nice hug. So it's been wonderful to chat with y'all. I think my advice to new mothers would be to find the joy in your moments. Don't worry so much about what other people think or where you're going with it, and just enjoy the ride. When my grandmother passed away at 92, I went out to see her the week before she died, and she looked up at me and she said, "Laura, it just went by so fast."
Ooh.
And I carry that with me. I carry that with me. So remember, it will go by very quickly. Just hang on to that joy, enjoy your moments. And again, ladies, I've just really enjoyed spending the evening with you. Thank you so much.
And that's a good note. It does go by fast. And my 83-year-old father reminds me of that. He always says, if you're going to do something, do it now. So that's The Other Woman. Again, The Other Woman magazine. Living a fulfilled life is not living a busy life. It's living your life unapologetically with no regrets. Live the one life that you have the way you want to live it. Your choices, your decisions. Forget what anybody else says. You don't want to live your life for someone else. A friend told me, don't let anyone should on you. You should do this, you should do that. Yeah. You do whatever the hell you want to do. That's right. Your life. So with that being said, I encourage you to meet the other woman, embrace the other woman, and free the other woman. And until next time, we're going to say goodbye.
Good night.